this high intensity situation where my back is against the wall and I have to perform because the deadline is tomorrow. Like, you may have like a friend or somebody that you know that says all men cheat. No, it's not all men cheat. Your man cheats and mine doesn't. Like, you know what I'm saying? Listen, in God we trust. The rest of y'all gonna have to show me some numbers. I need some receipts, okay? Hey y'all, what's up? So this is a reading vlog. I am cuddled up in my comfy swivel chair, straight from TJ Maxx Home Goods, okay? And I got my heated blanket, and today we are going to be reading The 12-Week Year by, I can't even see the first name because I took the book jacket off. Don't ask me why I took it off, but it's not there. It's in my office somewhere. Brian P. Morgan and Michael Lennington. This is like a very popular book that a lot of people have read, and I ordered it a while ago. No, I don't think I ordered it. I think I went to Barnes and Noble and picked it up. I don't know, but I picked it up because I had heard so much about it, and as you can see, it's very tiny. Like, I should be able to finish this book in the next like 2 days. So it's a relatively small book, and I already do a lot of like productivity type things in my business. I build systems, like I build online courses, paid membership communities, and mobile apps. So, and honestly, for my one-on-one clients, I do a lot of other systems work behind the scenes as far as SOPs and technology is concerned, more so on the technology side. So I'm already like super productive. So that's why I wasn't in a hurry to read this book. But we gonna read this book because I'm in a mastermind and everybody else in the mastermind has read the book except for one person, so me and one other person. So we're gonna be reading today, and I'll kind of just give you guys my thoughts. It is 190 pages. Like, this is a quick read, so I'm just gonna put my hair down. I lit my candle, put my glasses on, drink my Red Bull, and we're gonna make it do what it do. Okay, so I think this is where I'm gonna stop. I'm on chapter 8, page 45. So I'm almost 25% the way through this book. I had intentionally thought I was gonna sit here and read the first half today and the first half tomorrow because it's only 190 pages, but I'm getting sleepy. Even though I drank that energy drink, I'm getting sleepy. So what I'm going to do, because I don't wanna start reading and fall asleep in the middle of reading. Y'all see my face? And forget what I was reading because it's really good. I almost like want to stop and take notes. Like, this is one of those books where you start to fear that you're gonna forget something good. So a lot of my business books, I do take notes in the margin of the book, because if I take out a separate sheet of paper, the sheet of paper gets lost. It's just kind of like hectic. I think one of the things I'm gonna do this year, because I do intend on reading quite a few books. I'm thinking 50. I don't know if I wanna say that out loud, but I think I'm gonna read 50 books this year. If that happens, what I'm going to do, well before getting to 50, probably sometime in January, I will go buy a new iPad. And that way, when I take notes, I can just put the title of the book at the top of, I know that whenever I start reading, let me make sure I put the title of the book and the page number that I'm on when I take this note, because that would make it, at least I would be able to like go back and kind of search things. Pause the video. Listen, this might be a spoiler alert. It's gonna be spoiler. It's not gonna be a spoiler alert. You know what? I don't think this is one of those books where like it could be a spoiler alert. I don't think this is one of those books, because you're still gonna have to read it and kind of like determine where your own stuff lies. So what I'm gonna do is, when I finish reading this book, I will come back and I will plan my 12-week year with you guys, okay? And I am actually gonna plan my 12-week year, so I'll just film that tomorrow. So chapter 1 was the challenge. Then it talks about like redefining the year and how people like they plan like the whole year out, and then they take all year to do things that really don't take all year, like, which is pretty honest. But then also, this is kind of like weird. This is weird reading this for me, because I feel like everything they're telling me right now, it took me 6-7 years. I would say probably I started noticing the things they're talking about. I probably started noticing it around year 4 or 5, but I didn't start actually saying, I'm gonna change my entire business model around me until like last year. Like that's when I started. And everything that I did is literally in this book. And if I would have read this book a couple years ago, I could have saved myself a lot of time. So if you have not read this book, definitely read this book. So for example, they talk about time blocking, but not in the sense of how normal people time block. They talk about it in the sense of having like a block of rest. Like, this is a block of time where you do not do anything related to your business, even though it's during business hours. Then they talk about having an uninterrupted block. And then they talk about having a buffer block, which is a block where you take like phone calls and emails and stuff. And I have all of those things in my business. I just do not call them that. Like, on Tuesdays are my call days. That is the only day where I'm gonna get an interruption where I have to stop and get on a Zoom, or stop and go back and forth in emails and all that other kind of stuff. Monday is my CEO day. That's the day where I do stuff that I'm working on my business, not in my business. I don't respond to client emails. I do not take calls. Like, if you miss your Tuesday call, you literally have to wait until next Tuesday. Like, that's how it works. That's how serious I am about my time blocking schedule, right? Like, I don't call it time blocking because it's not traditional time blocking, but there is a purpose for every day of the week. Friday it's business hours, but I intentionally don't do anything for business on Friday. And it's not that I just want to take a 3-day weekend, although, hey, 3-day weekends are great. It's just, that is my, like, this is me protecting my mental peace and my boundaries. So that's what I do on Friday. So I already have like a similar structure to this, but what I'm liking is that the book is still giving me a mindset shift in my planning, because the whole year, like, plan for the whole year thing never really worked for me anyways, because I lose, like, not that I lose focus, but like, I'm always testing so many things, and I'm pivoting, and I'm like realigning, and I've evolved so much over the last couple of years that it's like, it's difficult for me to plan 12 months in advance. But 6 weeks, I got it. Like a quarter, I got it. And this is the 12-week year. So it makes you plan 12 weeks, which is really good. But I'm still having a mindset shift. So I think when I get to the part of the book where we actually start planning, then I am going to experience some new things mindset wise. So it talks about redefining your year, the emotional connections, throwing out the annual plan, like letting go of the fact that like things do not have to be planned annually, and you can give yourself whatever deadlines you want, and basically like create this perception of deadline and intensity, and that can make you perform high. The only thing I don't agree with about that is that you should use deadlines, but you shouldn't use deadlines as your sole reason of like for motivating. Like, it shouldn't be your only reason why you're motivated. The deadline should not be the only reason why you're taking action, because if that's the case, then what's going to happen is in your mind, you start to think, I can only perform well if I'm up against a deadline, or I can only perform well under pressure. And if you do that over and over again, you'll just wait until the deadline, like right before the deadline, to get things done. And this kind of like plays on that. And I'm not really like a fan of that, right? Like, I don't want to always be operating in this high intensity situation where my back is against the wall and I have to perform because the deadline is tomorrow. Like, that's not how I want to live my life. That is like literally like emotionally high strung at all times. You guys probably heard me use that terminology before. Like, I'm not operating out of survival mode. That is not the way that God wants me to live my life. Like, it's just not. He did not create me that way, okay? Because if he did, then I wouldn't be a nap taker, okay? And I'm a nap taker. Now, I am a nap taker. Not all the time, but I do partake in the naps, okay? So I just don't think that's how we're supposed to live. And I think scientifically, if you look at how your body operates when you are running on high levels of adrenaline, like, I just don't think it's healthy to live in that state all the time. So that part I don't necessarily agree with, but I do like that it's 12 weeks because honestly, if you take it seriously, 12 weeks is long enough for you to get a lot done, but it's still short enough for you to feel a little bit of pressure without feeling too much pressure. But I just wanted to give that disclaimer because I don't want y'all to get into that mode of thinking, okay? So it talks about throwing out the annual plan. It talks about looking at it 1 week at a time, which is like, if we're looking at the year and we're going like, okay, I have yearly goals, I have quarterly goals, I have monthly goals, I have weekly goals, and I have daily goals. That's a lot to like manage in your brain. So when you're just looking at 12 weeks, your month becomes a week, your week becomes a day, right? So everything is like shrunken down and accelerated. I do like that because it makes you increase the impact. Like, it makes you think about how you're using your day. A lot of times we'll waste time. Like, I'm wasting my day, or I'll just go, I'll just not work today. I'll just get it done tomorrow. Like, we push a lot of stuff off to the next day, not realizing the impact of getting it done that day or even starting it that day, right? Like, I've had a lot of projects before where it's like, I know I'm not going to finish it, but let me at least get started. And I may get like 25% of the way. I may get 50% of the way. But then when I sit down to work on that project the next day, I feel so much better knowing that I'm not starting from the beginning of the project, that I have at least a little bit of it done. So just looking at it as like, it's not all or nothing, and I'm NLP certified business and mindset coach. So I already know there are certain cognitive distortions that will slow you down and will keep you from experiencing success. And one of those cognitive distortions is all or nothing thinking. So cognitive distortions are things that your brain, or it's different ways that your brain processes information because it doesn't have the capacity to process all of the information that we're intaking every single day. So our brains are taking in a lot of different information. So with that being said, it's like we can't fully process everything. So what happens is our brain takes shortcuts, and those shortcuts are called cognitive distortions. There are 12 of them. One of them is called all or nothing thinking. That means that our brain says, well, there's no gray area. It has to be all of this or none of this, right? And so we choose a side and we keep it pushing. And that saves our brain like some capacity. It saves us like a couple of seconds. But in a lot of situations, it's not good. Like, there is gray area. So for example, like, you may have like a friend or somebody that that says all men cheat. There are no good men. Like, we can't do that. We have to do it this way. It's my way or the highway. Like, that's a cognitive distortion. And so looking from the outside in, you probably be like, why is she like that? Like, why is she acting like that? That's not true. Or like, no, it's not all men cheat. Your man cheats and mine doesn't. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's all or nothing thinking. And there's like a couple of others as well. Maybe I'll list them in the description box below for you guys. But 1 week at a time, like, understanding that just taking the time that you have, the time that you set aside, and just finishing things is really important. Then chapter 6 was about confronting the truth. Really loved it. Okay, so listen, because I'm a numbers girl, I'm a data girl, and let me tell y'all, there was a quote in here and I was like, I think I'm gonna get that quote tatted on my arm. Like for real, because I'm trying to get a sleeve this year. Y'all wanna come with me to get my tattoo? Do y'all wanna come with me to get my tattoo? So I have a couple, but this is the only one that's visible. Like if I'm wearing clothes, you can't see my other tattoos. And I did that on purpose because I feel like tattoos are a way for me to express myself and tell the story of my life, but they're not, I don't get them for other people, so they're not visible. But this one I got just as a representation, a reminder of like, I can take information out of my head and turn it into cash. Like that's literally what this was. I got this when I made my first 100K in business. By this quote by W. Edwards Deming that says, "In God we trust, all others must bring data." Bam, because y'all know I love me some Jesus. I love the Lord. But listen, in God we trust. The rest of y'all gonna have to show me some numbers. I need some receipts, okay? So I love that. I was like, let me get that tatted. And then there was another one. It was like, truth is the only safe ground to stand on. I like that one. Like there's a lot of great quotes in this book where I'm like, this is like giving me life. Okay, this is giving me life. So chapter 6 was about confronting the truth, which is basically just talking about like keeping score. I don't know why my neck hurts, probably because I just read all over the place, but it just talks about like keeping score and measuring what you're doing, like not just doing things and then coming back later and wondering like what happened, what worked, what didn't work, but really measuring things and keeping score. And they said that later on in the book, there's like a scorecard or something where you score yourself each week. And as long as you stay, as long as you get at least 85% of the things done on your list, that you will reach your 12-week goal. So I'm kind of excited because I want to see if I can keep to this. And we're at the turn of the year. We'll see, this is what the book was said. It's like, stop talking about the turn of the year because it's all made up. Like it's literally all, time is relative. It's all made up. Like we're saying, oh my goodness, January 1st is coming. Let's get ready. Like, okay, so January 1st is going to come and the sun's going to come up like it always does. It's going to go down like it always does. Everybody's going to go work like they always do. Like nothing is really special about that. Like it's all made up, which is 100% true. So it just talks about keeping score. So I'm excited because this is something that I can track for you guys once I finish the book tomorrow. So chapter 6 is kind of confronting the truth. And then chapter 7 talks about intentionality and just being intentional, which is really ironic because literally right before I recorded this video, I recorded a podcast episode and I talked for like 10 minutes, maybe even 15 minutes on intentionality and how if you're not intentionally creating habits, you're still creating habits. They're just not habits that are serving you. So it doesn't matter like whether you say, you know, I'm going to do such and such for me, or I'm going to not do such and such for me. It doesn't matter if you actually are saying that or not saying that. Like something is still happening. Like things are still happening. Life is still happening. So you can either take control of your life and create those better habits, or you can just leave it up to whatever, right? Like you can just toss a ball in the air and say wherever it lands is wherever it lands, and that's how my life is going to be. But like, why would you want to live like that? And that's what I said in the podcast episode, was like, why would you want to take that chance? Like you clearly have a desired lifestyle. There are things that you want. You look at other people, even though I do not recommend this, but you look at other people and you say, I would love to have that, or that looks nice, or she lives a nice life. Like this is something similar to what I want for myself. So we all have the idea of what our desired lifestyle is versus where our current lifestyle is. And so just knowing that you want something different from what you have now, or maybe you want to layer on something to what you have now, not necessarily living an entirely different life, but maybe you just want like something extra on there, like, oh, I want a husband, or I want kids, or, you know, I want another degree, or I'd really love to travel to these 10 countries next year, or whatever it may be, right? Like even just layering on some other things to your life. If you are not intentional about making those things happen, then they're not going to happen, but life's still going to happen. So you might as well take control. Like you might as well say, okay, I'm putting myself in the driver's seat. You know, this is my desired lifestyle. And then for me, because I am a faith-based life coach and a faith-based mindset coach, a faith-based business coach, I'm always even not even, I don't even want to say layering it on. I am also then prioritizing, let me make sure that whatever I'm doing, I'm leaving space and opportunity to have conversations with God. And then I can look at what my desires are, right? Because I first need to look into what are his desires for my life, because that takes priority. What are his desires? What are God's desires for my life? And then where do my desires line up with that? Or how can I line my desires up with that? Because ultimately, I want to do whatever it is that he is calling me to do. I want to fulfill the assignment that he has given me, because I know that is the ultimate way to lasting abundance. So while it looks good to be like, my desired life is to drive a G-Wagon and live in a nice craftsman style house in a gated community in the upper hills of Georgia, or wherever, right? Like, while that may be my desired lifestyle, and there are a lot of different things that I could do, in order to get there, I'm going to go have a conversation with God first. And whatever he tells me to do, I'm going to do that, because I know that eventually it will either lead to what I'm thinking, or most of the time it's going to lead to something even better than what I'm thinking. Like, I may be thinking, and I'm talking to materialistic things just because it's a lot more tangible to understand. But, I may be thinking like, I want a G-Wagon and I want to live in a nice house in a gated community. And God's saying, I'm going to give you 2 G-Wagons and you're going to own the community. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't really know. So it just makes, as a Christian, it just makes more sense for you to go to God first and seek to understand what the desires he has for you, right? Because ultimately that's going to get you whatever. And it's going to make you feel really good. Like, what are we doing this for anyways? I just want to feel better. That's a lot of us. Like, I just want to feel better. I want to be happy. I want to laugh. I want to enjoy my life. I want to eat good food. Like, I want my kids to feel good. I want them to love me and I love them. And I want to have good relationships. Like, that fulfillment aspect of life is, it holds a lot more weight than driving a G-Wagon. Although driving a G-Wagon is very nice. The thing is though, like, prioritize what God is telling you to do and you can have it all. You can have it all, okay? So that was the first 7 chapters. Chapter 8 is about accountability as ownership, which I feel like is going to be really good just based off of that title. So this is where I'm going to pause for this reading vlog. I don't have a bookmark. I'm just going to put the book down. My kids are not home, so I can just let my book down right there. And then when I wake up in the morning, it'll be right there. Isn't that amazing? I have 2 toddlers. You can't lay stuff down with 2 toddlers in the house. It would not be where you put it at. So not at their height level anyways, right? You could do it on like a high countertop or whatever. All right. So leave y'all's book recommendations in the description box. I will apparently be submitting a large order to Amazon and or going to Barnes & Noble and filming that as well. All right. See y'all later.